Hey everyone, welcome back to the Chew Toy channel. In this video, what we're going to do today is actually replace my laser LED lights, the daytime running lights, with the yellow CSL lights here that I ordered from AliExpress. So again, this is my M440i, if you can't tell by the plates. So for each of the videos, what I did was I removed all the rivets that were holding this cover here. So let's put this aside. And then also what I did was I took a Torx T20, I believe, and basically I unscrewed these screws here, basically to remove the lights. And then there's a clip here that we're going to have to remove. So I'm going to put this video on pause. I'm going to put this camera on a tripod and remove that for you. All right, so now that I have this on a tripod, what I'm going to do is there's a little clip here. Basically, you have to press that in and then pull out this clip here. And basically, this is the module that you're going to have to replace. So it's held on with some heat sink glue here. So what I'll do is I'll take a heat gun later and heat this up, soften it up, and remove this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that with the ones I received from, again, AliExpress. So these are the CSL Yellows. I think they ran for like $100. This one is for the outer lens, and this one is for the inner lens. So before I do any replacements of the actual heatsink, I'm just going to actually plug this back in to the clip here. And what I'll do is I'll send this down without the heatsink. So at least what you can see here is that when I turn on the car, you'll see that it'll turn yellow, and then you'll see some yellow lights through there. So again, I'm going to put this on pause so I can take the phone off the tripod. All right, so I'm back here. So now I have the yellow module just connected to the wiring without the heatsink. And what I'll do is now I have my remote fob with me. So I'm just going to turn on the car, and we're going to watch that turn yellow. Okay. So you can see there, it's turned yellow. It's going to get brighter. And then if I focus on my lights here, you can't see that it's yellow, but it's yellow in the back. And if I move it down further, you might see that it'll light up here as well, just a bit. So again, it's not totally sat on the heatsink to get this fully lit, but again, you can see that it's actually turning yellow. So I'll follow up with another video. And then also to follow up on the driver's side, basically I loosened up all the fasteners here, so I'm going to take the cover off. I also loosened the torque screw here, and I also unclipped the connector here, so I'll just pull that out. And you have this module here. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to do the next step, which is actually to remove these and actually glue on the replacement yellow ones. Also, I'm going to create another part. I'm going to take a big pause because to get to the outer side of the lights, the daytime running lights, I'm not sure if I have to pull the entire headlights out. So I'm just looking, let me go on this side, just looking at this light here. It looks like there's potentially another heatsink here. But in order to access that, I might have to pull out the entire headlight unit. But what that also involves is pulling off the bumper. So I just want to see how detailed it is. In other videos, I saw that there might be a heatsink that's behind the wheel well. But obviously I can't see anything from here to indicate that there might be a heatsink back here. Nothing's accessible here, so I can't tell. So I'm going to see if I can just tilt the wheel a little bit, take out some of the bushings behind there, or the covers, and see if I see the heatsink behind there. For the next steps, I took the modules and the heat sinks inside. Basically, I have my heat gun, so I'm going to heat the back of the heat sink just to soften up the thermal paste, hopefully to get these loose. And then what I have is I have a sort of a chisel and a smaller chisel to see if I can, sorry, out of the focus here, just to see if I can actually pry the chips off once I heat it up. So I'm going to just do a quick heat up, low setting. All right, I'm back. So I applied the heat gun for probably another 2 minutes, and I can see I used my chisel to actually grab the corner up here and then to force this out here. And you can tell where the glue is actually set at. It may be different obviously for everyone. It's a small amount, but it's pretty strong. So again, you can see my chisel mark here that I grabbed it. But that was enough force to pry that off. So I'm going to try to clean that up. I'll work on the other one. Again, hopefully I'll time that and see how many minutes it takes to heat that up. Give the chisel a try. Actually, I'll do that now. I'll do this, and I'll set it in fast forward motion. Basically, for the other heatsink, it was very warm to the touch, if not a little bit on the hot side. So I just want to make sure that we heated up really to that kind of same temperature as well. I want to try to keep these modules just in case I need to reuse them. So I don't want to melt them. I don't want to force them off and crack them in any way, shape, or form. That's why I want to heat these and kind of gently pull them off as well. And there you go, it popped off. And there's the chip, the module. So again, I'll pause the video, I'll clean this glue up, and I'll get ready to put the adhesive and put the new modules on. So a lot of the thermal paste did come off, and I just basically used Goo Gone while it was warm. What I also want to do is I just want to come back in with a razor and just kind of gently go over, see if there's anything I need to scrape off. All right, so I scraped off as much of the thermal paste that I could. I think I have it in a clean way. The surface feels smooth. What I want to note that just kind of looking at the replacement module is that if you can see on the top it says left, right. I don't think it matters which side is which. Basically the LED is in the middle, so it doesn't matter how you place them back. However, for the outer lights, daytime running lights, there is a left and a right module. It depends where the LED is placed on this. That'll actually reach those lenses, right? So that says right, and if you can read through plastic, that one says left. But I'm not doing these at the current state. So again, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the thermal paste on, and then I'm going to attach these modules, and then I'm going to let them dry. That may take some time. All right, so for my next step, I'm going to apply the heatsink thermal paste. Let me try to get this in focus here. Here you go. That was included with the product here. It's a small tube. I don't think you need that much here. But basically, I'm just going to go over each of the heat sinks and just apply as much that was on the spots that it was currently on. Now what I want to do is actually set this in place as well. So I'm going to go and push this down because I have a lot of extra here. I don't want to really kind of have it squirt off the sides. I'm going to try to angle it so that it actually installs downward. As you see, it's squeezing out through the bottom there. I'm going to press that into place. Maybe I shouldn't press the LED. And I'm going to let it set. So I'm just going to pause the video here. All right, I'm back with the other side, the left side here. So again, I'm going to apply the thermal paste, covering as much as they had in the previous spots here. Again, there's extra here. I'll just put a little bit more up on top. And again, what I'll do is, let me set this down. I'll take the module, the LED module. I'll take that, make sure left is facing left. I'm going to install it as like a sandwich going face down towards the left side so that it squeezes out through the bottom here. Just going to do a gentle press, make sure that's in place. As you can see, sorry for the angles, that is squeezing out off the top here. So we just wipe this off on the top with my gloves. I'm going to replace the gloves now. All right, so I just put back in the inner running lights for the heatsink there on the passenger side and the driver's side. So this is the first moment of truth when I turn it on. And as you see, we have yellow, CSL Yellow. So welcome back to the second part of this video. What I had done in the previous video was that I installed the inner or the low beam DRLs, which was easy because the light unit and the heatsink is up on top, and you just basically remove these two torx screws, T20s, and then you can pull it out and replace the module. What's harder for the outer ones or the high beams, let me just open up the car here. Or close the car. Okay, so that's still white. The light control unit is actually sitting down here. Apologies, it's a little bit dark down there as well. So what happens is that this brace or the support for the hood stopper is actually blocking access to that light control unit. And what's also complicated if you go back behind the wheel well to try to access that as well, let me switch to the other side here, is that behind this I guess brace here, it's a solid piece all the way through, so there's no access hole to get a screwdriver or torx screw kit or bit in there as well. My one thought was potentially, if you were brave enough to do this, you can actually just drill a hole through here and just send the torque bit through and then access, the torque screw. It's hit or miss because you don't know the exact location, and you might have to drill a couple holes, and maybe, I don't know if it'll compromise the integrity of that support brace as well. But again, I believe it's just for the hood, and also it holds to get a quarter panel in place as well. So I'm going to try a different route. Alright, so this morning I'm going to put the light control module back into the car, into the vehicle. What I need to do is to get the connector, and it's a hard space because I still have the wheel on, so I don't have full access. I have to get this connector here plugged back into the module, and then seat that back in. So obviously I can't do that with two hands while holding the camera, so I'm going to put this down. Obviously I'm going to have to reconnect it off camera and then pull back the video. I am back. It took me a while to kind of figure out how to do this, but basically I didn't want to pull the bumper. I started looking at that, but I didn't want to fully take it off. Just too much time, and I couldn't slide the headlight out. So what I noticed here, like again, what I said was this bracket here, which is for the hood stopper. As you can see, I pulled that out here. So basically you can release that, and then once that comes out, you have access to a screw that's down there. You have a 10mm screw, and you need a small sort of wrench to get in there. So again, just to look at the screws, you have a 10mm here, you have a 10mm here, you have a 10mm here. There's one underneath as well. So when you are close to actually the light unit, here on top there's a screw that you have to release, and there's one there. And to get to that one, I just use a wrench here to try to get to that, loosen it up, get that underneath, loosen that up. And you'll have to figure this out yourself, but then you can actually wiggle this piece out, move it around. That gives you enough clearance to the light unit here. So it was a pain, but finally got it out. Just a point of note as well, on this light control unit for the DRLs, there is a rubber gasket that's on the side here. So if you plan to heat this with a heat gun to take this chip off, you want to kind of maybe remove this, otherwise it may melt as well. Here's another helpful tip that I Googled up before I did this. So basically there's a thermal paste that was holding this DL LED chip down as well. So instead of using a heat gun, what I read was that the reciprocal alcohol actually gets rid of the thermal paste. So I took a capful, and I just wanted to make sure that I just kind of put the alcohol down here and let it seep hopefully underneath the chip. And it kind of removed it pretty well. All right, I'm back. After I cleaned up the heatsink, I applied new heatsink plaster that came with the package, and I already put this on here as well. So I just re-put the thermal paste where the mark was on the heatsink, and I inserted the chip back onto the heatsink. So if you notice, this is R for the right side. If you flip this over, you have R on this side as well, on the top. So this is the right module, or this is actually the passenger module as well. So I'm going to let the thermal paste dry for about an hour and a half before I insert it back into the car. Alright, so for this side, I did put the module back in, so let's turn on the car and see what it looks like. Alright, so there you go. We have both sides now on yellow. And now I have to get to the driver's side, which is still white. But again, I can only do it one side at a time. Alright, now that I have the light control module back in, I'm going to tighten this brace back in. So again, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts that you got to tighten back in. And then once I get that back in, we'll put in the hood rubber stopper back in here. Okay, I'm going to continue. I've actually removed the light control module from the driver's side, or the also the outer ones, or the hydrogen side. So I'm actually going to change strategies just a little bit. In the previous passenger side, I took a heat gun to try to heat up the heatsink to loosen up the glue, the thermal paste, and then remove it. I Googled what's the best way to remove thermal paste, and basically they said alcohol, typical alcohol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this method so you guys can determine for yourself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a capful. So I'm not soaking really the area, but I just want to get it to the contacts. Now, what I want to do is, again, I don't want the alcohol to touch really the circuit boards here on top. So I want to get enough glue down here where it makes it can get into the seeps, into the crevices and seams between the metal contacts here, and then loosen up the glue from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of alcohol at a time, right? And then also I'm just going to swish it around so it actually goes to the bottom, and then hopefully, you know, that'll make enough contacts on the bottom to hit the glue. And then I'm going to wait for this just for a couple of minutes to set, and then I'm going to try to pry it off with my wood chisel here, right? So I'm going to speed up the video and we'll just leave it here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to try to give it a little space underneath so that, you know, some of the alcohol can try to, again, work a little bit deeper. I'm not trying to pry it off at the present time. I'm just going to try to create a gap, again, that the alcohol can seep into. All right, I can see that it's, you know, it's moist on the edges here. There looks to be a seam, so I'm going to actually try to pry it off here, starting now. So basically, I'm going to do a firm grab. It feels like it's like shucking clams. So basically, I'm going to hold the heatsink, try to get my wood chisel in, give it a little pressure, and it popped off. So that was pretty easy, as you can see. So you guys judge for yourself whether or not alcohol does a trick, but you can tell that there's wet surfaces here. And I'm going to clean this up now. Okay, now for the final piece to get the new colored CSL LEDs on. I've cleaned out the control module here. I scraped off the excess thermal paste, and then I took the alcohol and I just kind of rubbed everything down so you can actually see all the scratches that were there, but it's very clean. I just wanted a better contact surface. So I'm going to apply their thermal paste. Again, I'm just going to go over their areas of where they had it before. It looks like Mickey Mouse, unfortunately, and a heart. So I'm just going to apply this here. I'm just going to even it out, thin it out, so it's not like lumpy. It's going to squeeze out when you put it on the chip anyway, so I just don't want too much to be applied. All right, so that's good enough. I'll put that aside, and then I'll take the chip, the new chip. So again, to determine the old chip, if you mix them up, the old chip and new chip, the BMW OEM ones have a barcode up on top, and the one that I had from AliExpress does not. So this is the CSL Yellow. I'll put that in here. Then I'll press it down. Okay. And then I'll make sure that it's a little bit lined, doesn't matter too much if it's lined or not lined. And now I'll let it set for another, couple of hours as well, just to make sure it hardens up. So we'll continue after I get this back installed onto the car. All right, so I have the module, the thermal paste dried. So I'm going to reinstall that back into the car. This is actually the last step to complete the install. So again, just to point out again that this bracket here for the hood stopper, I loosened that up so that it wiggles, and that would give you enough space to slide that back and up. So it gives you access to the top screw. You could use a torx to pull that out. So that really makes the convenience. And again, I can't do a great video because again, this car is sitting on the ground with the tires on, and there's not space to get camera shots in there as well. So, I didn't pull the bumper, and I didn't have to take the wheel off, and I was still able to get to the light control module in the back. So I'm just going to reassemble everything, and we'll take a final look. All right, I turned the car on, and now we have all 4 yellow DRLs. So mission accomplished. Alright, so if you like this video, please give me a like, and hopefully I'll make more videos to come.